Microsoft Arizona 800 exam practice questions with explanations are available in the video for you to study. You are managing a Windows server in a hybrid environment. You need to disable the use of SMB Direct to enhance compatibility with certain legacy applications. Which PowerShell CMD should you use? A. Disable Windows optional feature. B. Remove Windows feature. C. Set Net Adapter advanced property. D. Disable Net Adapter binding. The answer is D. SMB Direct uses RDMA-capable network adapters, and its functionality is tied to specific protocol bindings. To prevent SMB Direct connections, you need to disable the RDMA protocol binding on the adapter. Disable Net Adapter binding is used to disable a specific binding, like MIS_RDMA, on a network adapter, effectively stopping SMB Direct. Disable Windows optional feature and remove Windows feature. Manage roles, features, not bindings. Set Net Adapter advanced property can adjust adapter settings but doesn't directly disable bindings like RDMA. You are configuring hybrid connectivity between your on-premises environment, IP range 10.0.0.0/23, and an Azure Virtual Network named VNet1. VNet1 currently uses the IP range 10.0.1.0/24, and hosts a virtual machine named VM1. You plan to deploy a site-to-site VPN between your on-premises network and VNet1. What should you do first to avoid overlapping address space issues and ensure proper routing? A. Configure VNet1 to use an IP address range of 10.0.1.128/25. B. Deploy Azure Bastion to VNet1. C. Configure VNet1 to use the IP address range of 10.0.2.0/24. D. Deploy Azure Extended Network. The answer is C. Your on-premises network uses 10.0.0.0/23. which includes 10.0.0.0 to 10.0.1.255. Since VNet1 is using 10.0.1.0/24, it overlaps with your on-premises range, which causes routing conflicts. To resolve this, you must change VNet1's address range to a non-overlapping range, such as 10.0.2.0/24. Bastion, option B, provides RDP, SSH over SSL but doesn't fix IP overlap. Azure Extended Network, option D, is used for legacy IP address extension, not VPN setup. Option A, 10.0.1.128/25, is still part of 10.0.1.0/24, so it also overlaps. You are managing a Windows Server container host named Server1. You have written a Docker file named df1 to define the instructions for building a new container image. You want to generate a container image from this Docker file. Which command should you use? A. Docker build. B. Docker exec. C. Docker create. D. Docker images. The answer is A. The Docker build command is used to build a Docker image from a Docker file, such as df1. This image can later be used to run containers. Docker exec runs commands in an existing container. Docker create creates a container from an image but doesn't build one. Docker images lists existing images but doesn't create new ones. You have an on-premises Active Directory domain services (ADDS) environment that synchronizes with Microsoft Entra ID using Microsoft Entra Connect. A new application adds custom attributes to the on-premises AD schema. However, when querying user objects in Microsoft Entra ID from Azure Cloud Shell, you do not see the custom attributes. Which task should you perform first in Microsoft Entra Connect to enable synchronization of the custom attributes? A. Refresh directory schema. B. Configure device options. C. Customize synchronization options. D. Manage federation. The answer is A. When new custom attributes are added to your on-premises AD, Microsoft Entra Connect doesn't recognize them until you perform a schema refresh. This makes the new attributes available for selection during synchronization configuration. Customize synchronization options, C, comes after the schema is refreshed. Device options, B, and federation settings, D, are unrelated to attribute synchronization. You have a Windows Server virtual machine named VM1 running in Azure. You want to manage VM1 using a PowerShell runbook to automate administrative tasks. Before you can create and execute the runbook, what must you create first? A. An Azure workbook. B. A Microsoft Power Automate flow. C. A log analytics workspace. D. An Azure automation account. The answer is D. To use PowerShell runbooks in Azure, you must first create an Azure automation account. This account provides the environment where you can author, manage, and run runbooks, PowerShell or Python-based scripts. Azure Workbook is for dashboards and visualization. Power Automate is unrelated to Azure Automation runbooks. Log Analytics Workspace is useful for monitoring, logging, but not required to create a runbook. You manage a Windows Server file server named Server1. It hosts a file share named Share1. You need to prevent users from storing MP4 files in Share1, but still allow them to save other file types. The solution must not restrict access to the share entirely. What should you configure on Server1 to meet this requirement? A. File management tasks. B. NTFS quotas. C. NTFS permissions. D. File screens. The answer is D. File screens, part of File Server Resource Manager, allow you to block specific file types, like MP4, from being saved to a folder or share, while allowing others. File management tasks are for moving, expiring files, not blocking types. NTFS quotas limit storage capacity, not file types. NTFS permissions control access, not based on file extensions. You are deploying a new subnet in your on-premises network and plan to install Windows Server on a host in that subnet. This server needs to forward DHCP requests from clients on the new subnet to an existing DHCP server located elsewhere on the network. Which role should you install on the server to configure it as a DHCP relay agent? A. Network Policy and Access Services. B. Remote Access. C. Network Controller. D. DHCP Server. The answer is B. To act as a DHCP relay agent, the server must have the routing role service, which is part of the remote access server role. This allows the server to forward DHCP requests across subnets where the DHCP server isn't directly reachable. DHCP server is used to lease IP addresses, not relay requests. Network Policy and Access Services handles authentication, not DHCP relaying. Network Controller is used for SDN environments and not needed here. You manage an on-premises Windows server named Server 1. You want to connect Server 1 to an Azure Virtual Network, VNet1, using an Azure Network Adapter, allowing secure hybrid connectivity. Which tool should you use to configure the Azure Network Adapter? A. Azure AD Connect. B. Device Manager. C. The Azure Portal. D. Windows Admin Center. The answer is D. Azure Network Adapter is a feature within Windows Admin Center, WAC, that allows you to easily connect an on-premises Windows server to an Azure Virtual Network using a point-to-site VPN. This hybrid connection setup is streamlined through WAC. Azure AD Connect is for directory sync, not networking. Device Manager manages local hardware, not network connectivity. Azure Portal doesn't provide direct setup for Azure Network Adapter from on-prem servers. You manage an Azure virtual machine named VM1 that runs Windows Server. You want to ensure that administrators must request just-in-time (JIT) access before they can establish a remote desktop (RDP) connection to the VM. Which feature should you configure to enforce this access control? A. Azure Front Door. B. Microsoft Defender for Cloud. C. Azure AD Privileged Identity Management, PIM. D. Network Security Group, NSG. The answer is B. Microsoft Defender for Cloud includes just-in-time JIT VM access, which requires administrators to request access before RDP SSH ports are opened. This enhances security by limiting exposure of remote access ports like 3389 RDP. Azure Front Door is used for web app routing and doesn't apply here. Azure AD PIM manages Azure AD role activation, not VM-level RDP access. NSGs control access rules but don't provide request-based access control. You have an on-premises Active Directory Domain Services (ADDS) domain that includes a Windows Server member named Server 1. You want to manage domain password policies, e.g., fine-grained password policies, directly from Server 1. Which PowerShell command should you run first on Server 1 to enable this? A. Install Windows feature rsatl PowerShell. B. Install Windows feature GPHS. C. Install Windows feature RSAT add tools. D. Install Windows feature RSAT AWIMs. The answer is C. To manage Active Directory password policies, including group policy and fine-grained password policies, you need Active Directory tools, which are part of the RSAT Add Tools feature. RSAT Add Tools includes Active Directory Users and Computers and Active Directory Administrative Center, both of which allow password policy management. The other listed RSAT features are unrelated or incorrect. RSAT OW PowerShell equals ActiveX data objects, not related. GPHS 6PHC is invalid, misspelled. RSAT AWIMS is used for Windows internal database, not password policy.